Hey guys, this is Free World again. Right now we're gonna go over Steve Bannon's and Donald Trump's disagreement on Wall Street. Now, if you look at both of them, they're both nationalists. They both believe in, pretty much a Christian state. Now, I believe in a sense, nationalism is important. We do have to screen people. We have to make sure terrorists aren't getting in and everything like that. But I am more of a globalist. I think more like we need to be working globally more than nationally, but that's here nor there. And I am more secular, and I believe in the separation of church and state, and that most laws should be based on morality. But we're going to go over what the topic is, and that's their disagreement on Wall Street. Now, Steve Bannon and Donald Trump, they get along in a lot of ways, in the immigration policy and everything like that. They're all hunky dory with each other. But their big differences come down onto their economic policies. Now, I'm pretty sure they both agree with the tax structure that they've introduced, which is actually fairly decent. It's a fairly decent tax structure because they're lowering the taxes to bring back business into the United States. And that makes a lot of sense. But one of the things that Donald Trump is talking about doing now is taking some of the laws that Obama made, which were actually just centered around, creating an environment where Wall Street can't crash the way it did before, getting rid of risky lending and everything like that. And he's trying to get rid of that. Donald Trump just wants most of it, mostly all of it gone. I think if I remember right, it's Dodd-Frank. It could be off on that, but regardless, his what he's saying is, is that we've made it too hard for banks to lend money to companies, and that may be true, and part of that maybe need to be worked on. But there's also a lot of talk going on about how they want to get rid of like some of the regulations which stops people from, uh, like creating more wealth for themselves than for the people that hired them. So when someone comes in for a retirement fund and they're like, "Oh yeah, I need some help getting money with my retirement fund, and I need a financial advisor," and they're like, "Okay, well I'm going to help you, but I'm going to pick the plan that helps me, the financial advisor, more than you, the person who needs retirement." And now the law right now, which it didn't used to be in place, stops that from happening, where they have to try to help the employer who employed them for their retirement fund, help them get the most amount of money instead of themselves. And now they're trying to get rid of that and make it so they could make more money for themselves and other people. Now, this is all just speculation. I don't think that it's completely come out being said like that, but a lot of people have said that is what is going to happen. And I'm not saying that it's true. I am saying I'm skeptical about that right now, and I'm going to look more into it. But that is what's going on in the news today, and that's what they're saying. And Steve Bannon is completely opposite. He's like he used to work for Goldman Sachs as a financial advisor, and now he says that they need stricter regulations. And I, for the most part, agree with that. I agree that they need more strict regulations. That way, we're not creating another financing bubble. Now, I mean housing bubble. Now, the housing bubble did have its ups and downs. The biggest problem is it gave too many people at the top of the banks a lot of money, and then we had to bail them out. And the bailout plan, everyone knows the bailout plan was a bunch of BS, because we could have given like $1,000 to every citizen in the United States instead of bailing out the banks, and that would have created an economic stimulus just by doing that. And we didn't even have to give them all that money. And a lot of those people that took the money from the bailout plan actually gave it to their top executives. And it was a big sneaky ploy. And the way they did it in the Senate was ridiculous. And how it passed was just incredibly corrupt. But if we allow too much lax on the regulations, we might see something like that happen again. And a lot of people forget the fact that the housing bubble, while completely causing an economic crash, actually did create a whole bunch of jobs for people making houses. So it did actually create jobs while doing it, but now we have a whole bunch of empty vacant houses and no one to buy them because no one has money, which is part of the reason we had to go through a recession. Of course, this would have worked if we would have done it differently. like China, they have whole entire cities that they've built, and they're not looming doom because of doing it. But that's a whole bunch of things with their socialist nature, and we're more capitalist. I may go over that in a different video, but for right now, that's really all you gotta know is Steve Bannon is more like stricter regulations. Donald Trump's more like lax regulations on the banks. But he is part. Steve Bannon is part of the White House now. He is a cabinet member, so it's going to be interesting seeing if he makes any comments about it. But Steve, you know how Steve Bannon is. He doesn't want to talk to nobody. He doesn't want to talk to the media at all. Trump does almost the same exact thing. They're being very anti-media. Of course, if they really want their voices heard, they could just do an interview and or just talk on YouTube for a fucking hour. It'd be way easier, but whatever. This video wasn't nicely made, but if you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Y'all take it easy. All right, peace.